Sauce.
Hey, you late, Paz?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host, Pez. I'm here with Sauce. We've got a big round 17 in AFL coming up this week. And what was a big round 16 that we just finished, Sauce?
Yeah, most definitely, Pez. It was a great round of football, a couple of flag favourites or dynasties almost coming to an end. We had a couple of matchups that definitely were a little bit more one-sided than people thought, and some really big coaching news this week as well, Pez, to start the week off.
Yeah, the big coaching thing, another succession plan. Very interesting stuff where Alistair Clarkson, we will see him out till the end of 2022, and Sam Mitchell will take the reins from 2023 and above. Very interested to hear your thoughts. We've had about 10 years ago with Bucks, who has obviously just quit coaching, tapped on the shoulder and fired. And that wasn't a success. They didn't get a premiership out of it. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the two.
It's an interesting one. I mean, Sam Mitchell obviously had his hat in the ring for some of the other jobs going around, and he actually withdrew, earlier in the week, saying I'm not going to put my hand up for the Collingwood job, even though being one of the top candidates. He was assistant coach at West Coast that saw them have an AFL premiership in 2018. I think the different situation in this one is he actually has been head of development as the Box Hill senior coach. He's been head of their development at Hawthorn, and it's an interesting one because he has had a relationship before with Alistair Clarkson. I don't know if succession plans are the way to go. I mean, realistically, it's a succession plan that we haven't seen in a time where the team isn't doing well. Where the other succession plans that we've seen, they've sort of been doing a lot better, and then they've had a coach taken over once the tender's finished, but they've been doing really well. You look at the Collingwood one, they obviously were at the top of the ladder, and they said, we want Bucks, we don't want to lose him, even though Malthouse probably was still doing a great job. He was top of the table. We saw the Demons one as well with the succession plan. They took over, and then they sort of fell from grace out of finals, and
Paul Roos just didn't want to keep going.
Yeah, but they still had the succession plan. This one, it's structured in 2023. We've seen the Essendon one where that hasn't really, it's starting to see benefits now, but they were obviously down the bottom of the ladder when they did it. And
Worsfold didn't have his heart in it, and that was something different. So the two I think you can compare is the one you spoke about earlier, Collingwood, and the Hawthorn one. Now, the point that you've made is Collingwood, they had won a premiership in 2010. They lost the grand final in 2011, and then it was bye-bye Mick Malthouse. And he went off, and we know what he did, went to Carlton and all of that. So Collingwood were actually up the top. They had a really young list, and they were talked about being a dynasty for the next 4 or 5 seasons. That went downhill when Buckley came in. They got to a grand final in 2018. Buckley's obviously quit now. They're down in the bottom 4 this season. We've got the Hawks, who are actually just starting to really bottom out at the moment. They've tried to top up, hasn't worked out at all. So they've got players from other clubs and things like that, but they're right down in the dumps at the moment. They've had a big celebration with Sean Burgoyne playing his 400th on the weekend. Alistair Clarkson has said earlier this year that he wants to continue to be the coach and continue to do the rebuild. I think they've done a real big disservice to Alistair Clarkson here, because if you want Mitchell, you tap him on the shoulder and say you got the job at the end of the year, and he goes. I don't think the succession plan, I'd agree with you, Sauce, it's not the way to go, because tensions can happen. Clarkson, what's he going to be coaching for next year? He knows that he's going to ruin, or not ruin, but he's going to put a blemish on his coaching record. And Sam Mitchell is not going to have anything, and then he's going to have an extra year where Hawthorn are losing their games, getting an extra pick, and Sam Mitchell will come in there. Next year, I don't know how it works. Does Sam Mitchell take most of the reins at training during the week? Does he take a lot of the decisions in the coach's box? I don't know how they're going to do it.
And I think that's where the up in the airness about it, and then when we're yet to see a plan that actually, succession plan where we can say, hey, that was a successful because of this, this, and this. We don't know what their roles are. I mean, ultimately, Alistair Clarkson is the head coach. He's been the head coach there for 15 years. He's had success. He's built dynasties. At the end of the day, I don't see how it works as a traineeship. I think most definitely they've had opportunities where they can use other coaches. You look at Sydney, for example, you've got Dean Coxon there. They're quite often going head-to-head, but he's an assistant coach. At the end of the day, he has the final say. In his succession plan, who has the final say? Who's driving and who is, who's loading up Google Maps with the maps there to go? Is Alistair Clarkson showing him basically as a traineeship saying, this is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do, and Mitchell's sitting there going, well, I wouldn't do things this way. Is that the opportunity to speak up? Do they change it? You're risking a lot, obviously, because Sam Mitchell's trying to stamp himself. He's been, he's obviously... has been touted as the next best thing. He's been one of the great football minds that we've seen. He went over to West Coast and played for them for a year, and he was a big, integral part of their premiership. But at the end of the day, he's coming in as the passenger, and he's going to be trying to backseat driving. You got some of those senior players who played with him, and then you've got some of the juniors who all they know is Alistair Clarkson. Now you're going to have someone else who's chirping along as well, trying to get his point across, trying to get their point across, trying to change the game plan, knowing that they're going to bottom out. I don't see how you can work it without going to a new club and here's the reins.
Have they had a meeting? Have they had a sit-down meeting during the week and go, we're on the same page for everything? Because if they're not on the same page and players are getting different messages, I know who I'm listening to. I'm listening to Sam Mitchell. But he's going to be making the team selections in the next few years.
But they're on the same page now, Pez. What happens if they're going this succession plan and they're Alistair Clarkson's driving and they have the team meeting beforehand, but realistically he goes out and addresses them. Let's say they win their first 5 games. Like, what happens then? Does Alistair Clarkson goes, you know what? I'm going to take the reins here because we've got a good opportunity to make finals. This will get me set up for the next. And I think that's where the problem is. When you can see the door there, you got two options that happens. Mick Malthouse fighting for his life. Obviously, Nathan Buckley didn't have a whole lot in those premierships. That they got there and he was there. But Mick Malthouse was coaching for his next job. Got the next job, wasn't successful. You look at Worsholder's position. Disengaged, handed the ball over, didn't really care about it.
He was just sitting there, wasn't he?
But what's the point of it? If Sam Mitchell is ready, and I can get that Hawthorn didn't want to lose him, and that's why they've done it, 100%. That makes sense. He's a club legend. There's no reason why you couldn't go. Well, we're not putting you into 2023 anyway. Go take Collingwood's job. Go get a couple of years. Set us up over here. I just don't. I don't see the. I don't see the positives in doing it because they're either ready for the job. Or they're not ready. And if they're not ready for the job, then go get an assistant job, be a trainee somewhere else, go do that things. You don't need a succession plan. Put a mentorship.
Just go sign an agreement and say, I'm not going to sign anywhere as head coach. Go over to another club that you really want to see work and say, hey, Sam Mitchell, contact this club. Go be assistant coach there for a season next year. And then you'll have the Hawthorn head coaching job. Now, the difference I see between Sam Mitchell and Nathan Buckley in their playing careers is Sam Mitchell, they're both very good leaders. But Sam Mitchell was a more likeable leader. He was able to, speak honestly to people, but people would respect him a bit more. Buckley, kind of by himself, kind of a bit arrogant, kind of all about me type stuff. And then when he came in and took over the reins, I think that's what it was. I want to change from Malthouse what he's doing, and it didn't work out. So Mitchell, being that, knowing what success looks like at Hawthorn and at West Coast, maybe he can change it up. But I think, Source, that Alistair Clarkson coaches somewhere else at the beginning of next year.
Oh, interesting. You think it's a really quick succession plan? You think now Collingwood to jump all over him and trying to poach him, or you think someone else picks him up as an assistant coach?
Collingwood would be stupid not to jump all over him, or GWS, I reckon, give him the phone call this week and say, hey, here we go.
Behind the boundary exclusive. We've been calling that for 2 years now.
You've got to. Something's going to happen.
Something's going to pan out eventually. But back to what you were saying, Pez, about how difficult it is. And I know this is a little bit of a different context, but you and I did some coaching together, and realistically, you were the head coach, and you and I, we almost not a succession plan, but we coached in tandem. And when it gets down to the ultimate decision and pulling the pin, you always made that final decision. You were the one pulling the pin. You were the one addressing the boys. And, realistically, we were really lucky. We had a good friendship and stuff. And there were, we weren't getting paid big bucks. It wasn't our livelihood. We made the wrong call. We led about it. But in this one, Alistair Clarkson, he wants to be part of the rebuild. And now he's been told, hey, you're on the succession plan. To me, that says he wants to still coach. So as you said, he's probably going to end up coaching somewhere else. Sam Mitchell coming in there, he's a lot different to Nathan Buckley. He's got, 4 premierships under his belt, one as a coach, or 5 premierships, one as a coach. He's had some real success, gone to a different club as well. Had
an apprenticeship.
Yep. Proper apprenticeship.
Coached his own team.
And he's probably ready. And I think all it is exactly what you said. They've done Alistair Clarkson a bit of a disservice by saying, we're going to do succession plan because we don't want to lose Sam Mitchell. And we don't want to
disrespect Alistair Clarkson.
It's an interesting one, Pez. It's actually probably worked in the other way around. And
it's worked in Clarko's favour here.
Oh, yeah.
Because he can go out scot-free and say, all right, you guys don't want me anyway. I'm going to go and look in the best interest for me and my family in the future.
But how easy is the succession plan? And obviously he wouldn't do it as a professional, but when you're losing games, well, that's what Sam has to learn this. Sam has to learn this. We're trying different things, but when they're winning, well.
Well, Clarko can lose every game the rest of this year and lose most games and finish on the bottom of the ladder next year. He's still going to have high value in the market.
Yeah, well, the only difference is that the playing record, if you're running Sam Mitchell's playing style or their game plan, the losses go on to Alistair Clarkson and not Sam Mitchell. So that's a positive for Sam Mitchell. He doesn't get those losses. We see it in the NBA all the time where coaches are out sick, and even if they get the win, it goes to the head coach. This is the same regard, but really interesting times over the next couple of weeks, especially when teams start getting eliminated from finals. And, Alistair Clarkson's not going to be a part of finals. Collingwood may not be as well. There's some other clubs there who you may see, lose their coaching staff as the expectations don't go with the talent on their list. So really interesting watch this space. Coach watch 2021-22, Pez.
Yeah, we love the coach watch.
We love a bit of a watch, don't we?
Bit over summer. We'll keep a close eye on that. Very interesting and very big news coming out of this week. What we do need to speak about, Source, is a big round 16 that just happened, and it started on the Thursday night with a big, I don't know if it was an upset or not, it must have been, Gold Coast defeating Richmond, which made St Kilda's 40-point win over Richmond not look that great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's an upset in terms of you're looking at, and we spoke about this 2 weeks ago about Richmond, and this time of the year, this is when they sort of click into gear, and a lot of people are saying this is the end of the dynasty, and it's definitely, take nothing away from Gold Coast Suns. They bought the intensity, they controlled the pill early, they did a lot of things early that set them up for a victory. They obviously made some mistakes, and they could have put Richmond away a lot quicker in that first quarter.
A lot more.
But you got to take your hats off to Gold Coast, and their biggest win of their career, obviously at Marvel Stadium under lights Thursday nights against the reigning premiers. But Richmond are in a lot of problems, and especially after Dimmer came out and said that after the week before against the St Kilda loss, he's like, we're going to sit around the round table, we're going to address this. This is not good enough, and you expected them to respond, and you expected them to come out.
I expected them to respond,
and I said to you, Pez, I said I'm a little bit dubious about it on the show because they have been showing some alarming sides. But if this was their time to bounce back, this is what they do. They adhere to adversity and they take control. But it wasn't to be the case on Thursday night.
Oh, it definitely wasn't. And what has Dimmer said in the past? There's no passion at Marvel Stadium. The Richmond don't really want to play there. The people don't really want to go there.
You need to beat Gold Coast at Marvel in Melbourne.
But
sorry,
didn't they lose at the MCG the week before? Anyway, so they don't have any passion at the moment. I don't know what's going on. They've won their 3 premierships or whatever it is. Write them off at your own peril. They are outside the 8 at the moment. They are. With GWS's big win over the weekend, but big alarming signs. A positive sign for Gold Coast Suns, but for the Gold Coast, you got to show it earlier in the year and win those games earlier, so you're still in the hunt and still in the fight. So positive for Gold Coast. They need to keep their list and turn over a little bit and come back firing next year to try and compete for the 8. But Richmond, they've still got a lot of talent. Tom Lynch came back for his first game, and we'll see how they come out this week.
He looked good as well in that forward line. He looked like he was going to break that game early. They went to him the first 2 times. He was just manhandling the Gold Coast defence. But the lack of effort from that middle, Pez. They just got opened up. Took Miller was fantastic. He had 36. He's surely, if Gold Coast, as you said, had won more games earlier in the year, he's putting them on his own back, and he could be up for an All-Australian spot. I don't think he'll have the wins to do it, but he's averaging 30 and 5 clearances a game. He brings the tackling pressure. Your mate King, he kicked 4. Ainsworth probably could have had 7 or 8. He had 3 or 4 in early. Same with Sexton. Young bloke Sharp. He was in the middle of the circle. At the end of the game for his first win, he looked impressive. And the old, Rankine was impressive, getting some of those decent, not so miraculous shots at goal, more the stock standard, having a good delivery into that forward line.
Yeah, a little bit about Rankine. I noticed one thing that I spoke to you, Source, because we watched the game last week, and he's rubbed someone on the head, one of the Richmond players outside, and I said to you, it's not a good look for him. He's come in as a young player and he's an exciting player, but you've got to earn your stripes to be able to do things like that, and he hasn't earned them yet, I don't think.
Especially when he's not performing, Pez. He came into the league on fire. He had 5 or 6 goals in the first couple of weeks. And you and I were all over him, just like any other AFL supporter, because he was exciting to watch, but then he just didn't back it up with, trying to do the miraculous every time and just need to go the stock standard. And when you're an impressive win, you put yourself in a position to lose that game as well by not putting opportunities away early. You don't need to do that, and especially against the sleeping giant in Richmond.
Yeah, especially when they've come back against teams teams earlier this year as well. You had Lukosius with 24 disposals, 23 of them kicks. Absolutely amazing there. And Fiorini, the forgotten man, 25 disposals. So he's come back into the frame as well. And
He'll probably be out next week.
Yeah,
He can't seem to get a regular gig, that bloke. But
we'll see how he goes there. But the Suns, big upset and more talk probably about Richmond Footy Club this week than the Gold Coast Suns because their season is over.
A massive week for them. They've got Collingwood. They must win for them. It's in Melbourne. There's no excuses. They must win. They must respond. Otherwise, the dynasty is most likely dead.
Yeah, if Collingwood beat them, they don't make finals this
No way.
year.
Well, they're sitting ninth at the moment.
Yeah.
So a lot of good jokes around the social media around them finishing ninth, which is good. But let's get on to the next game. And it wasn't so much about the scoreline in this one. Geelong had a sort of routine win against Essendon after being challenged early. All the chatter was about Jeremy Cameron, who went into the game with a little bit of tightness in the hammy. Went through the warm up obviously trying to see if he could get up and play. The medical expert said, it's 50-50. They gave him the green light. He gave himself the green light. And went off in that second quarter.
Yeah, after kicking 3 goals, like he's
kept us in the game.
Super important player. Like Essendon on fire, kicking the first 4, and then Geelong making their way back at a 60-point turnaround in the end, winning by 41 points. Disappointing for the Bombers, but you had Jeremy Cameron with 3, and he looked like he might come back on when he was off there and he was warming up a little bit, and then they put the ice and strapped the ice, and it was night over. So Hawkins had to stand up. He kicked 6 goals and. Geelong, scary, but I think Geelong need Jeremy Cameron in that side come finals time.
Yeah, not only come finals time, Pez, they've got a really, not a tough month, but a challenging month in terms of what they need to do in order to guarantee a top 4 spot. They're sitting 5th at the moment because of, the way that the other teams are winning, and they might sort of slip in there because of the other teams, but they can't afford to drop many. They've got a lot of teams coming up over the next month. They've got Carlton who are coming up to their review, and there's some other challenging games there that they're not against top sides, but they're one of those games that we like. You don't want to drop this game, And with we've spoken about it. The 2 players being able to move in and out of your forward line and be able to make you damaging across both sides of the ground is going to be really crucial for Geelong, especially as I said, coming into another campaign where expectations on their list this year needs them to finish top 4 and needs them to be basically premiership or bust.
Yeah, it pretty much is. But it's good that they got Dangerfield back in the side. He played a really good game, probably best on ground for mine.
Well, he wasn't. Darcy Parish won the country medal.
I don't understand it.
Can we address this, please, Piers?
Well, Darcy Parish played an amazing game for Essendon. Okay, he had contested possession after contested possession, clearances, and probably made the scoreline look a little bit better for Essendon. But if your side loses by 41 points, your best on ground is in the other side.
I mean, he had 43. He's kicked the ball 23 times, handballed at 20. He had 5 marks, 3 tackles, 13 clearances, which was huge, an Essendon record. But Pez, this is the 3rd time this year that he's won a medal. 2 of those in losing sides. The one, the Dreamtime match where he was best on field. Again in a 4-goal loss.
Yep. Dustin Martin or Shea Bolton should have got it.
Yep. And to me, is he a sneaky for the Brownlow, Pez? Because if he continually gets these games and he gets noticed, I don't know who's doing the votes, but I don't understand how he continually is winning medals. And do you know what I like from Darcy Parish? He's in disbelief when he gets announced
when he
hates it because he knows that, hey, I didn't do enough to win. I'm not the most impactful player on the ground. Stats mean nothing if you don't get the W.
Yep. Well, Dangerfield, you look at him, like you could understand if Parish had 43 and every other player had 20 and no one kicked multiple goals. But Dangerfield had a goal, 37 disposals, 11 marks, 4 tackles as well. Tomahawk had 6 goals. 6 goals won after Cameron goes down in when your team's down by 4 goals at the start of the game. Pretty important.
But the stat lines, Darcy and Patrick Dangerfield, almost identical. A goal each, 6 disposals, the difference there. In terms of marks, Patrick Dangerfield had 11 marks. Darcy Parish had 5, tackles 3 and 4, clearances 13 and 11. Like the games are almost identical. There's 6, and if you do goal assist as well, Dangerfield had 1 more on him. Like, I'm not saying that Dangerfield deserved the medal. I'm just saying that Darcy Parish didn't deserve it. No, I don't care who else wins it, but you can't have someone from the losing team by over 40 points, Pez. I get that because they're not making impact. They're just getting the pill. I don't like it.
Brownlow night, who's getting the 3 votes?
Well, he should be getting the 3 votes then. He has to.
He's not.
He's not.
Surely not.
Dangerfield or
He'll
Hawkins.
get a vote. He'll get a vote or 2, and Dangerfield and Hawkins will be the other 2 players in that 3-2-1 round 16. Mark it down. But I think it has to be Dangerfield. I'd put Hawkins as 2. and I put Parish as 1.
But that's what happens when you get media personnel doing it. It just shows you how much they don't understand the impact of the game, which is really disappointing because a lot of them are past players. And then the people, the commentators, when after the game, they're even surprised about it too sometimes. I think they get so, we talked about the Essendon game against Richmond, how much they spoke about Darcy Parish breaking records throughout the whole game. By the end of the game, that's what happens. They talk him into it.
It's what happened Friday night
Exactly
as well
right.
because of the clearances.
Yeah, because they were going for his record.
Oh, it's an Essendon record. He must have played an amazing game.
Which he did. He played an amazing game.
Don't get us wrong there. And the other thing that annoyed me about the commentary team is they're going on in the fourth quarter about Nick Cox when
the game's dead.
I already said that before on the podcast before the game source on the Wednesday night that Nick Cox is a young player and he's not as impressive as people make him out to be at the moment. He needs to develop a little bit.
And what's funny, I spoke to an Essendon. I went and watched the game with an Essendon supporter, and he said the exact same thing. He's like, these kids are going to be good, but the expectation just needs to be dropped a little bit. Like getting, 10, 15 touches. He didn't get a touch in the first half, basically. He looks fatigued. He looks tired. And we see this all the time with young sides. The difference is that, they come into the side, they made impact straight away. And now they're starting to fatigue. Give them a break. Give them a couple of years. Essendon aren't making finals this year.
The media think they are.
They're not. They're not making finals this year.
6 wins.
If they can finish, as I said, I had them at the bottom 4. You had them bottom 4. They need to finish around that, that 10th, 11th, 12th mark. That's a success for Essendon. That gives you great stout going into next season. Gives you some momentum. You got some reps under these kids' belts. All positives. Yeah. Don't blow up the kids' confidence with this expectation that they need to make an impact straight away and they need to maintain that impact going forward over a whole season.
They're not going to win enough games to make finals.
No.
We know that. They're 12th. So just get off the bandwagon there. The next game, which was really, really good. Big call with GWS floating out to $5.
We both made that call, Pez, that we said GWS, this is their time. But I think more questions have gone unanswered about Melbourne. I don't understand why people aren't talking about Melbourne. This is the third time that they have lost to a team outside of the 8. They've only had 3 losses. All 3 of those teams, when they started the game, were outside the 8. There's massive alarm bells, and especially with Melbourne's last month, I think that what Western Bulldogs did to them has really blown up and shown them how to beat Melbourne by slowing that game and making them turn over. They looked back to their old days, Melbourne.
They're in absolute panic stations. They've brought in Ben Brown on the team list to try and get some more stability in that forward line and some more scoring power there because they've just got Fritsch trying to do the job by himself in there. You got Neil Bullen who always goes in, Cozzy Pickett sometimes, and then Tom McDonald who, he's hit and miss. If you're winning by 4 or 5 goals, Tom McDonald will pop up, kick 2 or 3. But if you're losing, Tom McDonald will go missing. So big issues there, especially when it comes to finals and you're playing against the good teams. Are they going to get themselves up? Are they going to do this? Big win for the Giants. They've dropped a few this year that they probably shouldn't have dropped. Early in the season, they were really, really poor. And they drew to North Melbourne when they had an opportunity to steal that game down in Tasmania as well. So their percentage doesn't really matter, but they're inside the 8 now. They could actually be overtake West Coast.
But Perry, it sounds so simplistic in this. GWS, and we've been saying this for how many years, Pez, when their players play well, they win games and they're very hard to beat. Kelly had 29. Taranto had 28. The youngster in Tom Green, he's been fantastic. Got sent back to the reserves last week and automatically comes back and responds. He had 25. Callum Ward had 24. Toby Green, our man, he had 3 goals and looked like he was probably should have had 5 or 6 the way he was playing.
And only 7 disposals. But the impact he had.
It's the impact, Pez. And those players, when they're up and about and they're running around and they're making those impact, they work hard. They're playing for each other. They look good. They need to get that on a more consistent basis.
Oh, they definitely do, but it's a big game coming up, and I can't wait to speak about it. Coming up in the bet slip is Melbourne versus Port Adelaide. Absolutely massive stakes in this one for a lot of clubs involved. So Geelong will be watching on very eagerly as well. Brisbane as well. So
what's wrong? While we're on this, before we get onto it, so what's wrong with Melbourne? Like why are they the last month? Why have they really dropped off? Question without notice, Pez. Sorry.
Yeah. I haven't believed in Melbourne all year, as the listeners will know. And they won, 9 in a row? Mm-hmm. And then they lost 1, and then they kept winning. And then they were sitting on top of the ladder, should have beaten GWS, still be sitting on top of the ladder, a game clear. Until they prove something to me in finals, I'm not going to believe in them because I just don't believe in their list at the moment having what they have. You've got Petrarca that needs to have a massive impact every game for them to win. You've got Gawn who probably needs to push forward. It still comes down. They've got a really good defence, so I'm happy with their defence. I'm happy with their halfbacks. You've got Salem and Langdon. I'm not happy with their forward line. I still struggle to see where their goals are coming from. And if they can integrate Ben Brown, they've kept it a bit late now, Source, because they have to try and integrate him to be their main goal kicker, give them 2 or 3 a game, and they've only got 6 rounds left to do it.
Yeah, and they're coming up against the Port Adelaide side that deal with tall forwards quite well. You know, you've seen that against Geelong. You've seen that against some of the other teams there. They sort of got exposed a little bit by Brisbane, but they've handled tall forwards quite well. Port Adelaide,
especially a tall forward that can't take a contested mark.
Well, he runs in a straight line. So, like, what it does bringing Ben Brown in for this game, and we're sort of talking about the future here a little bit, is it puts like Bailey Fritsch, who when he's able to just roam, he's quite good to watch, and he's quite a deceiving sort of body. He's a high draft pick for them. I think he was picked up 7th or 8th.
Deceiving player.
He's a deceiving player. He kicked 3 on the weekend, and he seems to have a great pair of hands. He has a great goal sense, and he plays a lot taller than he does. But what Ben Brown does coming into that forward line, that throws him in disarray and panic stations for 5 weeks. He either needs to be integrated earlier, or you persist and you work out why the ball is not getting into that forward line and you're not scoring goals.
It's panic stations. That's what it is. That's why you're bringing him in a big game against Port Adelaide. So we'll see how they go tonight. I'm interested to see what you think of that game as well coming up. The next game was a bit of a blowout, the Adelaide versus Brisbane there, with Brisbane winning by 52 points.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of predicted this was going to happen. It was a bit of a non-event for how much chatter was going on about where this game was being played, and they thought that the extra travel from both teams were going to affect Brisbane. But Brisbane are the best team in the league at the moment. They've been the most consistent. They've knocked off 3 of the 4 top sides in the league, and they put on an absolute display. They overpowered the Crows. They had a 52-point win against a team that realistically has shown signs of improving, but they are a bottom 4 side. To me, this was exactly what needed to happen. Zach Bailey was fantastic. He had 3 goals, 9 clearances, and 26 touches. And
he's a gun. Where's he come from?
He's the barometer.
He is a jet. No, the barometer was off injured, I think.
You can't call yourself a barometer there, Pez, and not play. But Brisbane are just ticking along. Jared Lyons was fantastic. Don't understand how he got overweight to Brisbane. He had 31. Mitch Robinson, 27, 26 from Zach Bailey, as we just mentioned.
Mitch Robinson is a barometer.
That
is a barometer.
But it's their forward line, Pez. McCarthy had 4, Bailey had 3, Cameron had 3, Danaher had 2, McStay had 2. They've always got 4 or 5 blokes that just snap up for 2 goals.
Hipwood didn't score.
No.
And he doesn't have to.
He doesn't need
We're
to.
in a Melbourne forward line. Bailey Fritsch has to score multiple goals for them to win a match.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to happen at Brisbane.
No, it doesn't at all. And Tex Walker going off early didn't really help the Crows early for that game. But it was disappointing for the Adelaide fans, but a really strong and impressive win. And there's not really much to talk about in this game, Pez, because it was pretty routine. The bookies definitely had it wrong in this one. Extremely low line, but a very impressive win from the Lions. And they're putting themselves in the right position, winning away from home. And we don't know how many games they're going to get at home with the Queensland government. They are looking forward to getting back into the state of Queensland. Not necessarily the Gabba this week, but
Metricon, so they'll be there this week.
Yeah, it's a routine win that they need to do, and this is what we spoke last week. Coming into finals, these teams, you need to be smacking these teams to get your confidence up, to get the reps into these kids, to get the possessions up, and to get your goal scorers scoring goals.
Yep, and boosting that percentage up a little bit so they can be over the other teams there. Next game was Fremantle versus Carlton on the schedule. Carlton ended up winning by 16 points, and they had them at the start of the game, Source, where Carlton just got the jump on them, and then Fremantle. And a big problem for them this season is they couldn't kick a goal.
Yeah, they couldn't kick a goal, but Carlton were fantastic, led by Paddy Dow, who had 11 disposals, 6 clearances in that opening quarter, and set himself right up. Fremantle missed the jump, Pez, and if the game had been played for an extra quarter, they probably would have beaten them, but they missed that jump, and they just couldn't get back. It was actually a really entertaining game. It
got back to a draw in the
minus
that
first quarter, Pez. Fremantle really will be upset at themselves because obviously with Richmond dropping a game and the GWS Giants having that draw in there, they could sneak into the finals, but this loss makes it really hard. They travel to Tassie this week. They're probably not going to get that win in Tassie, but it's frustrating as a Fremantle supporter. You must be watching this saying, why do we continually not being able to get on the board? And I know that they had no forward line. Tabernar was out, but you just got to get better delivery to your forwards. It doesn't matter who your forwards are. Better delivery needs to happen.
First quarter 4 behind, second quarter 4 behind, third quarter 7 behinds. And they had 4 goals, 7. It was an absolutely dominant performance in that third quarter. They probably should have had a bit of a lead, but they just didn't allow that to happen. And credit to Carlton, who got the win. And if it was at Fremantle's home game and it wasn't COVID, Fremantle get that win pretty easily, you would imagine. So Carlton get another one and are lucky to get away with the one there. But at the moment, you got Fremantle still in with a shot. A sneaky shot if they can, win games at home and steal one from away, but that rubs out Carlton anyway. They've won a few games in a row.
It doesn't rub them out though, Pez, because it comes at a timely sort of place to have a review. When they've taken on the bottom half of the fixture and they've put some gettable wins in there. That's back-to-back wins since they've had they've started their review. Do they keep their coach? Does Teague keep his gig?
Yeah, he's a great coach now because they had some wins.
They've had some wins, but they haven't been impressive. And again, this was one of those games where you looked in that fourth quarter and you said, "Oh, Carlton's gonna," the old saying, "Clips are gonna clip." The Blues are gonna blue here, mate, because they looked like they were going to get overrun by Fremantle. But as you said, inaccuracy cost the Dockers.
Mate, the Pussycats this week, they've got Carlton.
I'm not.
It can be a danger game.
It is a massive danger game.
What Geelong need to do, you look at the percentage, they're 1% behind Port Adelaide.
We need to win
Port
big.
Adelaide play tonight. They need to just go out and win by 50, 60 points against Carlton. It should be...
We struggle against Carlton. We always struggle against Carlton.
Should be easy enough for them to do, and we'll see how we go. But yeah, I think Carlton are out of the race. They're the same boat as Essendon. They've won 6 games for the year, dropped games in earlier that they shouldn't. Probably more developed list than Essendon, but just not performing either. The next game was the big celebration. Sean Burgoyne's 400th game. Came out with all his kids and had the banner and stuff. Absolutely amazing and beautiful and great to hear the stories and the interviews of him all week leading up to it. And Channel 7 did a great job as well on the telecast before the game. So big congratulations there. 400 games. Source, a question without notice. Do you think a player will ever reach 400 again?
Yeah, I think it will, especially with the sub rule.
Current player?
Darcy Parish will go close. He's played...
Oh, jeez, you've got a young current player. There
Darcy Parish will go really close because he played 22 in his first year and half of those were at age 17. He seems durable. He doesn't get injured a lot. I actually said that when he first started because he can get those reps in. And Essendon, they've already got another 400 gamer there, so they know that they like to stay reliable with Fletcher. So I'm calling him.
Yeah, I think if it does happen, it's going to be one of the old timers at the moment running around. But I don't think it will happen. I think.
Who do you think is probably the next one? Well, probably like Joel Selwood. He'd be at 3-something.
3-something. Or Pendlebury, I don't think will.
Pendlebury probably won't make it through.
Mundy won't make it because he's 35, 36. So, I just don't think it's going to happen. But what did happen in the game is Hawthorn kept with them for a couple of minutes early on.
The festivities of stuff sort of, that was about it there, Pez.
And then Port Adelaide just kicked away and the scoreline didn't really do it justice. Port Adelaide ended up winning by 34 points, but they were up by a hell of a lot more earlier in that game, just kicking goal after goal. It started with Marshall where he should have kicked the goal to the opening goal and he hit the post and then Bruce from a tackle that was... He ducked, I thought, and got a higher kick. And Bruce, he's a smart player and does that. And he got the first goal for Hawthorn and they were up and about. But Port Adelaide just went bang, bang, bang. Your man Charlie Dixon kicking 4, Marshall with multiples, with Mays, Bergman, and then Bruce for Hawthorn all kicking 2.
Yeah, it was. They piled it on 9 consecutive goals, starting from the end of the first quarter into the third quarter. They looked impressive. Hawthorn. Everyone saw this game going this way. I don't know the amount of tipsters that tipped Hawthorn thinking they're going to get up. The list just isn't good enough. Hawthorn saw a scalp and they can see that whilst it is just beating Hawthorn, who are down the sort of the bottom of the ladder, this was a big win for them because this is something that you can easily get dismantled by when there's big celebrations and the crowds behind it and there's all that press leading up to it. But I think what helped them was that he was obviously a champion of their club as well, 150 games for them and a premiership, and it was great to see him getting cheered off from both clubs. It was look, they did it fantastically. The routine win, Pez. These are the wins that we know Port Adelaide do. Tonight is where the big test is against Melbourne at home, and I don't want to talk too much, without discrediting sort of what they did on the weekend. But it means nothing realistically. They need to win, the big games.
They need to prove something to the AFL. Well, not the AFL, but all the fans out there.
Otherwise, they're out. Kick them out.
They do need to prove something and beat a team that's in contention. Talk about contention. West Coast Eagles.
Yeah, just before you get onto that, Pez, just checked your games record. So David Mundy 347, Eddie Betts 344, Pendlebury 331, and Joel Selwood 325. So out of those 4 players, who you picking? Probably Selwood
to play the most games out of them.
Yeah, and then you got Franklin, who's sitting at 311, who probably could have been at the 400 club if he didn't miss so many games.
What, he missed 5 years or something?
5 years, basically. Still got another 7 left on the contract. But we get a perfect little segue there, Pez, because wow, when we predicted that Sydney were going to win, Pez, but you did not. It was just a dismantlement. They didn't even look in the game. They piled on goals early, Sydney, and they thrashed West Coast. And everyone's talking about the death of the dynasty in terms of Richmond. This is a really, really concerning. This is back-to-back weeks that they've been flogged. Not only flogged, but their game style and their game plan has been just picked apart. And Sydney were extremely impressive, a 92-point winners, Pez, but alarm bells are going for Adam Simpson here. Like, it's at the lowest score that he's had in his coaching career since 2014. A score of 9 in the first half. There's no positives for West Coast in this.
I still look around the thing, and on the podcast last Wednesday, I was actually leaning towards West Coast.
Oh, no.
Source.
You picked him in the line.
Early on.
You picked him in the line.
I picked him in the line. And then come game time, I don't know if I remember if it was Saturday night or Sunday, I was speaking to you and we were like, Sydney have this win. They're really good value. And Sydney will have this. I didn't think it would be 92 points.
It could have been more too. They sort of put the cues in the rack there and they tried to get Buddy Franklin a couple more goals in that for fourth quarter, Pairs. But
you look at the list and you look at the lineup and you can't do that anymore with West Coast because you've got so many premiership players there and they just didn't perform at all to get done by 92 points. And they didn't score over a goal in the first half and they didn't really score much after that. Dom Sheed had 37, didn't really lead to much. Tim Kelly's in the middle. Elliot Yeo, you've got Luke Shuey in there. That's a really good midfield if you said that to someone. And you go, they had a team with this midfield with Nick Natnui rucking, with Josh Kennedy up forward, with Tom Barras down back, Jeremy McGovern down back, and they lost by 92 points. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it.
You couldn't believe it, Pez. But I think, and I spoke about this at the start of the season, Pez. I said this list is aging and their game style, I think last year was a lot more taxing than people put down to West Coast. There were a lot of those older blokes last year that they really struggled and everyone was saying, it was a COVID year. But like them being away for as long as they were, not being able to have the 11 free games that they get at Optus Stadium really, really put a mental effect on them. They're now under the pump all the time, constantly. Like those older players, and yes, they've been hit by injuries, but they invested a lot in when they went away with Tim Kelly and some of the other players there. They threw away a couple of draft picks. They've put a lot into this. There's a lot more pressure than meets the eye with West Coast, and they cop it from their whole state as well. We don't get the immediate attention here. They would be copping it left, right, and centre, and it's going to be really tough for West Coast. Yeah,
bad record, and we saw in the documentary, the Amazon documentary, the AFL last season. West Coast are a team that hated the hub and just refused to play good footy and didn't want to, had a sook and didn't want to do that. So they're having a sook going down to GMHBA. A couple of times this year, they lost by 90 points, 90 plus at GMHBA.
But I don't think it's just a sook about going down there, Pairs. Like their state's going into lockdown and they haven't had the lockdown like Victoria has. They haven't properly understood it. They've been allowed to have fans there. This is all new territory to them. Yes, they've played in hubs before, but it's a little bit different when you're playing in a hub, knowing that you're going to get 12 games back end of the year for free.
Yeah, it's not happening.
They don't have them this year. And if they make finals, they might not get a home final, which I don't think they're going to make finals anyway. I said at the start of the year, but I think it's more than just them sooking now, Pairs. I think there's a mental state to it as well.
There has to be something mental, and they're becoming the second team ever in the AFL source to lose 2 games in a season at GMHBA.
Oh, good. You should play them down there more. It's interesting that, and Adam Simpson was asked about the press conference after about, what it is about GMHBA. I think it's such an unfair question. Obviously, the ground dimensions are extremely different. Optus is such a large ground and it's almost a third of its size at GMHBA. And the other unfair aspect is you've been playing Geelong, who, I think they've won 80-something% of the last 10 years. So they're home and away games. They're not losing down there. Like, it's a ridiculous thing to ask, but the dimensions and the game style definitely isn't suited for Geelong.
Well, a team that you think West Coast are still trying to fight for the 8. The next game you got Collingwood and St Kilda, 2 teams that probably I'll call that they're out of it and out of contention, with St Kilda having a really tough draw to end the year. This was a very one-sided affair, very great defence by St Kilda, not so great offence, where they couldn't take advantage of all their turnovers that they were getting from Collingwood. But Collingwood just looked really, really poor. And then the game's putting you to sleep. St Kilda are up by, 49 points. And then you wake up and they're won by 9 points. And Collingwood have come back by 40 points in that last quarter.
Pez, I found this game really hard to watch. It was so terrible in that
Slow.
first quarter. It was slow. It was so Robert Harvey was playing so conservative. Like they just didn't want to make any mistakes, and
They didn't want to attack. They just wanted to defend.
But they didn't even really want to defend. It was just like, let's maintain the possession. It was a typical like under 10s basketball game where the ball just continually is passed around, turnover, pass, like or stoppage football where they just all jumped on it. But the Saints were impressive, Pez, because they got a must needed win. They backed up the talk from the chatter from last week against Richmond. An impressive win, probably for 3 quarters. The last quarter when Robert Harvey sort of said, "Let's just run and just take the game on."
You're allowed to do what you want.
2 weeks in a row where their last quarters they've been impressive. That's what Robert Harvey needs to do all.
Yeah, maybe do it all the time. Bradley Hill was super impressive with plenty of disposals. He got 30 for only, I think, the second time in his career. He was everywhere and running, getting the 1-2s. Brad Crouch as always, Luke Dunstan in there. Jack Steele had 36 with 14 tackles, the tackle machine over there. For Collingwood, Adams had 34, so he's a really important piece. DeGoey had 32 in the midfield, kicked 1 goal too. It was pretty disappointing from him, actually. I thought a 32 in one game, it would usually be pretty good, but I thought he didn't have that big of an impact as he should have. In terms of goals, you had Max King and Membry and Mychek and Ryder.
That is huge,
too.
Pez. Max King kicking 2 goals in a win. Back-to-back weeks where he's kicked, multiple goals in impressive wins. That is what he needs. We know he can get his hands on the pill. We know he can get shots on goal, but that's really important for him.
Oh, he needs that for confidence. Membry is a really, really important piece. He also goes down back as well for St Kilda at the end of quarters. Mychek was really quiet and got the 2 goals in the last quarter. And Paddy Ryder was instrumental in the ruck. And I'm going to call it probably one of the best tap ruckmen I've seen since the 2010s.
Paddy Ryder?
Yeah.
Oh, he was fantastic. And what makes him, he has so much control over the ball. St Kilda has reaped the benefits of last year, and you're starting to see it when he's back in the side. He's also, I still remember watching it with the game with you when he was playing for Port Adelaide.
Oh, yeah, and won him the game back to Robbie Gray.
He has so much control, and they took it apart in, I think it was the 3rd quarter where they analysed it. They put it on an absolute platter to Crouch for him. They knew exactly where he wanted it. He missed the tap a little bit, so that was a little bit behind him, but when you've got a midfield up and running and you're getting first delivery of the ball, Pez, and you're getting it exactly where you want it, and you can see the field like that, he's got to be the master of that little tap behind. Because I agree with you, Pez. Over the last 5 years, one of the best tap ruckmen.
100%. And just one player I did want to mention who's been reinvigorated in the St Kilda forward line over the last few weeks is Ben Long, who was, he lives the game on the edge, and he's really rough and chooses to bump when he probably shouldn't and things like that. But him being in the forward line, he kicked 0-3. So he's having ping shots at goal, but he is really aggressive at the footy and really wants to win the footy. And it actually helps St Kilda forward line. So I think that's a really good move from Brett Ratton at the moment. And Ben Long up forward is looking all right.
Yeah, it's good to see that that hasn't sort of depleted him away from attacking the ball hard, and put him in the forward line. He's had a little bit more self-control. I think there was one incident where it looked like he was going to absolutely murder someone, and he was able to have that resistance, and he was able to put it towards a St Kilda goal. I think it ended in. Speaking of goals, Pez, we get on to the last game of the round, and I don't think this is much...
Another non-event.
No, there's not really much to talk about here. The Doggies took on North Melbourne, and they sort of just dominated them for most of the game. North Melbourne were able to keep Bruce to under 10 goals, which was fantastic for them, but not much really to talk about here. Cody Whiteman was exciting in that first quarter, piled on three goals. Probably the big news is Aaron Norton. Landed on his head, a little bit of a reckless sort of a self-inflicted concussion. He'll be out for 12 days. Really, really tough for them, especially for the 21-year-old who's been in pretty decent form, and he looks like he's ready to explode. But he'll be missing against the Swans this week at Marvel. Really, really crucial game.
Big game, yeah.
What's even more crucial is that if he continues to launch it himself like this is the second time he's done this in his career, where he's sort of self-inflicted concussion. He could do this in a final, Pez, and he's an integral part of their forward line. He really sets up their structure. He allows them to get shots on goal. And he is not, I don't want to use the word barometer, but when he's up and about, everyone in that forward line is up and about.
He's word of the month, barometer.
Barometer, just say it one more time. But really crucial for the Doggies for him to get himself right.
Oh, 100%. I think Mitch Wallace has just come back into the side. He kicked 3.
He's licking his lips, isn't
and
he?
he's sitting there going, all right, I've got another shot now with Norton out. I was our main forward last season, and I'm back here ready to go. And Liberatore, another 25 disposals, 2 goals too, and he's re-signed to the end of 2023. So the Bulldogs re-signed Bontempelli and Liberatore. 2 massive signings moving forward, but don't think about the future. You just got to think about this year in the finals for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, so hopefully he can get back. No, nothing else really to talk to. Zerha was impressive for 2 weeks in a row. He'll probably have a nice little contract waiting for him, and hopefully North can sort of lock him down. And they are building their pairs. Another week that we say that for North Melbourne, a win is beating the line. The line was 55, and they got within that. So it's good that they're continually improving, and they're starting to be more competitive for longer parts in the game.
Yeah, and North Melbourne, their start of the year really, really struggled, and as you said, they're getting within the lines, and the line was huge at 55 or whatever it was at the start. So that was great gift for punters out there. And speaking about punters, Source, we need to review our bet slip from round 16.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they've won as well.
And Pez, I've been looking forward to this all week. I can't believe, Orson, the first thing off the top of the show that we've been talking about. Pez,
I can't believe you didn't talk about it.
Pez, what did I say last week? I called it.
We had to perform.
We're backs against the wall. We did what Richmond should have. We did what St Kilda has been doing the last couple of weeks. Pez, we bounced back and we responded. And geez, did we ever have a massive, massive round 16.
Oh, the individual rounds were just absolutely crazy. And just before we even get into the green ticks here, Source, I only staked $135 because I had so many bonus bets from round 16 when I had that shocking round. I returned $272, Source, for a return on investment of 101.48% and took my season ROI to 7.86%. So
it's not bad. It's not bad.
Up above that, I had the emoji of just the sand in the umbrella last week, and now there's a little bit of water there.
I got a bit of bone to pick with you. I've finally overtaken you, and it doesn't matter whether I'm beating you, but my emoji, I've just got water. Why? Surely I'm building something, Pez.
You're not building something.
You're at 5% and had your own bloody little bank or hospital or something rubbish.
That was 15% when I was sitting.
I'm a bit disappointed, Pez.
I was sitting up at 30% this year, wasn't I?
Yeah, a bit of a fall from grace there, Pez, but not for me, Pez, because I saw your buildings crumbling over there, and I got motivated. I didn't want to be out in my ass like you on the beach by yourself, so I staked a 235, including a live bet that you have cheekily amended there, Pez, onto the
I had to
Twitter.
amend it. I actually missed it.
A bit of a late one, so returned for the round $476.28, an ROI of 102.67%, and Pez, for the year, I am coming home strong. $2,705 staked, returned $2,954.54. And Pez, getting the double cobras out. Yeah, the pythons are up, mate, because 9.22%, and I am sitting where I need to, Pez. At the end of the season, that's where I am.
Condolences.
At top.
Condolences to me for having to deal with this idiot throughout.
Giving yourself the old condolences. No, we do need to get into the round, Pez, and the first game for both of us was a bit of a condolence because we both had it wrong in this one. I missed my first game in the Gold Coast versus Tigers games, though I was confident that the Tigers were going to struggle against Gold Coast and happy with the line. I didn't put any of those lines into my to bet.
Unfortunate.
I went with a couple of defenders in Jaden Short and McIntosh to get 15 and 20. Short couldn't get his 20 and Shea Bolton to get 20 as well. So missed out 25. That was my donation for the round, Pez.
Yeah, well, I had a bonus bet on this, just a $25 one. I had Richmond line minus 26.5 and the overs of over 139.5, which got up. But Richmond just didn't show up, didn't perform. So I lost that bonus bet. But I also lost my multi on that Thursday night, Source. With I had Richmond minus 10.5. Couldn't get over the line there. So multi dead, that dead. Not a great start to round 16.
Not a great start, but Pez, we've seen it before. Just because you lose the first one doesn't mean you can't have a great round, and I started things off on the Friday night with fashion. My Cats taking on Essendon. I had Parfitt to get 15. I had the Cats to win, and over 146.5, which I did have hand in my, my heart in my mouth for in that last quarter because it was getting close. I didn't think it was going to make it when it was starting to rain, but I absolutely saluted there, Pez. Made it pretty easy. $50 on the nose, $2.09 odds, and returned $104.50. Giants to start things off and to get up and about.
You got to love it when you get a max bet down early in the round. It comes up and you're just ready to fly for the rest of the round. I didn't have a bet in that game, Source, so we moved to Melbourne and Giants. Now, we said that I called the Giants victory, and I did put my money where my mouth is.
Cheeky!
And I got a little bit cheeky because a green tick to a cheeky, which was an $8.25 get. I had Greater Western Sydney to win. My man Christian Salem for 20 or more disposals and Toby Green for 2 or more goals. He had a goal within 20 seconds, Source there. $10, I turned it into $82.50 and started laughing for round 16.
Yeah, and you should be, Pez. It was a very impressive victory, and you should have put the max on it because that's what we spoke about, is the max bet. The Giants, we both liked them. You put your money where your mouth is. I missed out by one leg. Nick Haynes had his 15. Toby Green, as you said, he kicked one in the first and he kicked one in the second as well to give him 2 or more goals. Unfortunately, though, he only had 7 touches, so he didn't get his 15, but I escaped with a bonus bet, which I've used very wisely this round, Pez.
I'd hope so. I hope you use that very wisely. The next game, now we discussed this. There were no odds out for this game, Source, so that's why...
We didn't even know where the game was going to be played.
No, so that's why we both jumped on the live bet, isn't it?
We did. We didn't have a line for this one, and that's where I went, is I thought that the line was going to be, I said to you on the pod, I said it'd probably be about 27, 28, and it was down at 23.5, and I loved that line. I put on a live bet, $25 on that, and the line's got it done, and it was another tick for me.
Yeah, green tick. You like that? $22.50, nice get. I put the max on here, and I was really happy with this. And then in the first half, I wasn't so happy with it. I had the overs at over 160.5. I thought that was quite low. It was a good weather over there at Adelaide Oval. And then Hugh McCluggage for 20 or more, very easy, and Brisbane to win, very easy. Wasn't so easy, the overs, but it eventually got up and over the line, Source. That was a $2.79 odds. And when you got the max on $2.79, it returns $139.50. So you really like that.
You do like that, Pez. I steered cleared in the next one with the Carlton versus Fremantle, and lucky I was because I was leaning towards Fremantle, as we spoke in that review, as they were unable to get the job done. So no bet for me in that one.
Yeah, I thought my little bet of Fremantle 1-39 at $2.50, I thought it was good value because they did have a chance to play over at Optus Stadium with no crowd, and they probably would have got the job done. And we found out on the Thursday or the Friday that they weren't playing there, and they were playing in Melbourne, a home game at the MCG for Fremantle. So not a great bet in hindsight there, but they still had their chances to win, as we said in that thing, kicking 15 behinds in the first 3 quarters. And Carlton getting over the line by 15 points, a bonus bet of $20 there, gone astray.
Yeah, that's disappointing, Pez. But next one, it was the week of the cheekies, Pez, because I got a cheeky up as well, and I'm not going to push the button because I just scraped through on the rule here, the $5.50 bet. Travis Spoke to get 25, Port Adelaide line 19.5, which was money for jam. And Charlie Dixon, as I said, Pez, the Hawks really struggle against teams that have a big forward, and he kicked 4 or more, and it's the 7th time this season that Hawthorn have allowed someone to kick 4 or more goals. And
you said it, you did it, you chose it.
You'll see it again this round, Pez.
$5.50, so there you go. Nice little tick, nice $55 there. Now my one was a little bit different. I had the Port Adelaide line, and I only had the bonus on it. I looked at the line later, Source. It was minus 16.5, and I thought I can't let this line go. So I've just put a couple of other legs in it, and thought legs that will definitely get up. We'll go Carl Amon for 20. So he had around 27 disposals, very easy. The line, as I said, 16.5. And I put Scrimshaw, my man, in there for 20 plus disposals. He had 29 last week and didn't touch the footy pretty much in the first half, and cost me my max there. So my round could have been a lot better. And what I should have done in hindsight, as we say, is a wonderful thing. Just gone the safer option of the Port Adelaide line when it was free money, I thought.
Free money. And from one live bet that didn't do too well to one live bet that did extremely well. In the next game, Pez, as you said in the review show that we spoke about this on the Sunday, and I was all over Sydney, and I put the max live bet on Sydney head-to-head, Callum Mills to get 20 and Luke Parker to get 25. They all saluted it very easily in the third quarter with a 92-point victory. A little ripper of a bet there, Pez. A live bet, 275 odds, returned 137.50. And if you were following online and exclusively to our Twitter, you definitely would have been rewarded.
I thought it was a dog.
No, I don't know what that is. That's you chomping at the bit trying to get inside to
on the island. Chihuahua at the front or something, but it wasn't. It was I saw someone cutting something there. But my bet, I actually hated my bet before the game, Source, after having that discussion, having a little bit more in-depth look at either team, 19 by or less. And I thought, do I do I chuck the max on Sydney head to head at $1.87 and just let it sit underneath there and hope for the best?
Just hedge it.
And I thought, you know what, I'm having a good round. I lost my max live bet with Scrimshaw, disappointing me, so I didn't pull the trigger. And when you don't pull the trigger, you don't get the benefits. So across there, lost my bonus, and we'll go from there.
We'll go from there on to the St Kilda versus Collingwood game. As we said, this was pretty routine for for St Kilda. I said in the preview that St Kilda should not lose this game. They will not lose this game, and they didn't. I had 25 on that at $2.01, so just a nice little double up there for me, Pez.
Yeah, I put mine as a bonus bet, so I put the halftime leader as well because I thought the Saints had come out strong, and they did, and I just got a $32 return from a $20 bonus bet, so you got to be happy when that happens. The Bulldogs North game source, so I didn't put anything on there.
Yeah, me neither, Pez, and there was not much really to watch because I was already celebrating into the green because with all those green ticks, Pez, it meant that my multi got up. I had $25 and a $3.26 three-leg same-game multi. Geelong, Port Adelaide and the Saints just to build up that little value. A nice little profit of $81.53, Pez.
Little multi you got up, huh?
Hey, the little multi.
Yeah, happy with that after St Kilda get up there. So great round, Source. Great round from both of us, I would say. And heading towards that 10% mark, I'm about 2% away and you're just under 1% there away. So let's get off this little island and start building.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Now Betts with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
Now, just before you hit that button, Source, I was down at the East Kilda Footy Club on Saturday night, and Heath Shaw plays for them, and he'd driven to the footy that day, and he'd had a few brewskis, and you know what he did? And I didn't know this was an option.
Left his car?
No, he booked an Uber. 2 blokes came in the Uber, and 1 bloke drove him in his car home.
Oh, I like that.
That is good, and I didn't know that was a feature, but whoever thought of that is really good. So if you got your car somewhere, don't drink and drive. You can actually get your car home that night with 2 blokes in an Uber.
Yeah, well, that's the way to do it, Pez. That is a little bit special.
I think it's good for them as well because if you...
Do you get double? Do you have to pay twice?
I don't know, but if you're super drunk, and you're going to vomit that's the biggest thing for taxi drivers and Ubers. If Heath Shaw had done that in his car and vomited inside there, it's his own car.
Yeah.
So the driver's got no risk there.
Yeah, you just called out Heath Shaw there for not handling his brewskis, but doing the right thing. No, I don't know how impressed he'll be there, Pez.
Really, no, I'm just speaking about it because he's in our intro, so that's what reminded me.
So let's get on to something a little bit more tasteful and hopefully some good specials for the round.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
Yeah, well, when I did the specials earlier today, one of them was an outsource, which is the main one. But Sportsbet have the kicker goal in the first 2 minutes for Thursday, Friday. They've also got the 3+ leg AFL head-to-head multi as well as tabs. So have to be head-to-head, has to be 3+. You can get a bonus back there. They've also got the up to 3 refunds per match, the same game multis, which they bought out about 2:15 today, didn't they? So we'll go from there. So Tab have Thursday night game, Friday night game. They've got Bulldogs in Sydney, and they've got the Monday game, West Coast North Melbourne for the 3-leg same game multi. Lads have the $2 Lions as well as Neds, and Neds also have Thursday, Friday same game multis. Their Source.
Ready to get into the round, Pez. Some good specials that I took advantage of. You messaged me early in the day and asked if I'd done my bet slip. I said nope. I'm waiting for Sportsbet to get their act into gear, and they did, thankfully, at 2:15. So let's get into round 17, which starts things off with an absolute classic. We see the return of Monday Night Football. We see the continuation of Thursday Night Football, and what a classic. You've got first, you don't have first anymore because Melbourne have dropped down to second. You've got second versus fourth. Port Adelaide taking on Melbourne. Port Adelaide are the favourites, $1.69, with that home ground advantage surely being the telling piece. $2.17 for the Ds. The line is -4.5. And the over-under is 146.5.
Yeah, it's the bookies don't really know what's going to happen here, do they? Because you don't know what Port Adelaide's going to show up. You don't know what Melbourne are going to do. They've brought in Ben Brown, which we mentioned earlier. Desperation move, I think. I think Port Adelaide can take care of him. Melbourne's defence on the other end is very good. So I think Port Adelaide are going to go in with the Marshall, Georgiades, Dixon, and really try and take advantage of that. You've got Butters coming back into the side, which will punters, be careful. We've gone on about Carl Amon since Butters has been out of the side, but Carl Amon's disposals go down when Butters is in the side because he doesn't play that role. So it'll be interesting to see if he does actually keep his role, Amon, because he's been doing a great job, and what role Butters plays or vice versa. So we'll see what happens there. In this source, I've gone...
Cheeky!
Oh, straight up.
Yeah, cheeky, but I've gone to Max Cheeky.
Oh, whoa. Here we go.
It's a Max Cheeky, so
Jesus.
$50 on this one. And this wasn't going to be a cheeky, but I've done it. I've put all the legs, and it ended up meeting the rules. And I thought,
Pez.
I was already putting the max on it. It's meeting the rules. I might as well make it cheeky. So I have got the Port Adelaide halftime, full-time double. So they've got to lead at halftime. They've got to lead at full-time. I've got the over 133.5. What did you say the over sits at?
146.5.
There you go. So a little bit lower in the alternate line on Neds. And I've got Christian Saylor, my man, to have 20 plus disposals. I've got Zach Butters coming back in to get 15 plus. Okay. Not expecting him to have an amazing game and get 20, 25, but 15 plus. Good. And Charlie Dixon against that really tough defense. He's $1.48 to kick 2 goals. So I'm hoping he can do it. 50 max bet. It's given me $5.56.
Nice little return if that gets up there, Pez. So good luck to that. I actually don't mind your chances for that one. So that could be you could be the one that's up and about tomorrow morning, Pez, or later tonight after a couple of frothies. I'm sure you'll be up and about.
I could have lost the max bet at the start of the round and crawling my way back.
No, mate, positive. That's all we want to see, and that's what I see from mine. I've put the max down as well. 3-leg same game multi with Neds. Port Adelaide to win. I think that. As you said, Melbourne is panic stations, and I don't think that. I think that will really throw their forward line into disarray. Port Adelaide, they like to win at home. They play well at home. They're playing at top 8 side, which is a little bit worrying. But I think they can get the chocolates in that one. So Port Adelaide to win, Dan Houston to get 15, and Darcy Byrne-Jones to get 15. $2.13 odds, return of 106.50.
All right. You confident? Keeping the confidence
I'm
from last
keeping the confidence,
round.
Pez. I'm up and about. The second game, Essendon will go in confident after a pretty decent sort of month against Adelaide Crows here at Marvel Stadium. Essendon take on Adelaide, as mentioned, $1.28 favourites. The Bombers, $3.72 are the Crows. The Outsiders, -22.5 is the line. Over 161.5, Pez.
161.5. Interesting. This game is a nothing game. Obviously, I think Essendon should win and get the chocolates, but I think Adelaide can keep it close because Adelaide, they want to finish the season off strong. They did it last season. They're travelling down to Marvel after playing at home and getting embarrassed in that last quarter from Brisbane. So, what it is you've got.
Are the people building your hotel there, Pez? They're getting my hotel ready. Pez has got some work happening in his house, and they're building my little throne there, I think, after the week last week.
That's good. We're close enough to that line on the beach where we can actually see the works happening, so that's all good. Well, I've got a three-leg same-game multi with Neds, and if one of them fails, I get a bonus back. So I'll put 25 on this. I've gone the alternate handicap of Essendon plus 11.5, so just a little bit of insurance in case they lose by a goal or up to 11 points. I've gone the alternate unders of 190.5, so under that.
Yep.
And the Crows, I said I want them to keep it close. I've gone Crows plus 36.5, so the Bombers can lose by 11 points or win by up to 36 points, and it'd be under 190 points, and it would get up. It gets me $2.01. I didn't play out power play it. So hopefully it works with the bonus if one of them misses out.
Hopefully it does, Pez. I was a little bit worried when you said that you thought the Crows were going to keep it close because I think actually at Marvel, Essendon, after an impressive sort of month that they've had, will come in pretty favourites. And the line I got was -20.5 a little bit earlier in the week. -20.5 with Neds. Dyson Heppel to get 20 and Darcy Parish to continue his amazing form to get 30 plus. That gives me odds of 345 and I've chucked 25 on that one, Pez.
Oh, maybe Keys go back to his tagging role and get onto Parish.
No. Let's get on to this Saturday afternoon game. Hawthorn taking on Fremantle. And a really interesting clash. This has been played at University of Tasmania Stadium. And we know that it's generally windy down there, Pez. So I'm really interested to hear your thoughts about this one. Huh?
University of Tasmania Stadium.
Yep,
that's good. I like that.
All right.
I actually like that. It's a rhyme stadium with Tasmania.
Shut up, you fool. All right, Hawthorn come in as the outsiders, $2.19. Fremantle, the favourites, $1.68. The line is -5.5 in favour of the Dockers. The over-under is 155.5.
I think Hawthorn should pretend that this is Sean Burgoyne's 400th down in Tasmania, and they've got a chance to win against Fremantle down there. Because it's in Tasmania and because I don't know what's happening. Fremantle, they have to win to try and get into the 8. Hawthorn don't really have to do anything of it. So I've just got a no bet in this one. We'll watch with interest to see if Fremantle keep their season alive.
Yeah, you pussy. I've gone
Cheeky!
in this one, Pez, because as I said, Hawthorn, they let players score 4 goals. They've done it 7 times already, and it's going to be the 8th time on the weekend. I am a little bit dubious about it being obviously in Tasmania and the wind playing a bit of an effect there. But, with no real dominant forward, surely this is the week Rory Lobb steps up, Pez.
Oh, I've been watching Rory Lobb for a while.
Here he goes, Pez. I've got $10 cheeky on this one. Caleb Sarong to get 15. David Mundy to continue his Benjamin Button sort of time and get 20. And Rory Lobb to score 4 or more goals. That gets you $9 on its own. That brings up my odds to 11.75. And that, Pez, is going to be just a nice little... I might put a nice little extra balcony on my building that I'm building.
So you're banking on Taberner not coming back into the side?
He's not coming back, mate.
You've heard it here first. He was close last week.
They're not close enough.
Not close.
Rory Lobb gets 4 and gets the job done for the Dockers there.
His goal kicking could be an issue as well.
He might. There's a lot of things not playing into
He could have 8 shots at goal and not get 4.
Could be a very angry Sauce next
we'll
week.
see what happens with you, Sauce. But the next game involves your Cats, Carlton versus Geelong.
It does, and as I've alluded to, this is a bit of a danger game here. Carlton 3.72, the outsiders. Geelong the favourites $1.28. The line's minus 21.5 pairs, and I think that's a very high line for this game. The over-under is 160.5 pairs.
Yeah, I wasn't all over the line and things like that, but I think Geelong do this and have to do it comfortably. We said earlier, they've got to win. They've got to try and get into that top 4, and they've got to win by a lot. So I've just gone a 2-leg multi with, when I did my bets, Source, I had no sports bet special or anything, so I've just gone with Neds. Halftime, full-time double, Geelong to lead at halftime, Geelong to lead and win the game. And Tom Stewart to get 20-plus disposals and really take him across the back line.
It's unbelievable that he's still sitting at about $1.24.
Yeah, you got to put him down to about $1.11, I reckon.
I think that's what he is, yeah.
And then I power played it because there's no option for a bonus or anything, Source. So power played it up to $1.99 and put 25 on it.
Oh, okay. Well, I like that, Pez, because it means that Geelong win. For me, I've just gone a really, just a straight bet here. I've just gone anytime goal scorer, Zach Tui to kick a goal. He get odds of $2.40, Pez, and with Cameron out, and he's leaped forward the last couple of weeks and snagged a couple. Last week he had 1-2. The week before he had 1-2. The week before that he had 2 behind. So I think that he's a decent shot, and as you said, if Geelong push forward and they get this job done, multiple goal kickers, so I like that one at $2.40.
Just by itself,
by itself, Pez?
Just by itself, a little Zach Tui action, huh?
I don't mind it at all. Hopefully he gets the barrel or the drop punt, or he can do a banana for all I care. It doesn't matter.
The game winner.
I don't care how he does it.
As long as he kicks one.
As long as he kicks one and the Cats win. All right, let's get on to your Saints, Pez. Brisbane taking on St Kilda. $1.22 favourites are the Lions. St Kilda $4.30. The outsiders minus 27.5 is the line. And the over-under is 158.5.
Yeah, I don't like this game.
Nope.
I do not like this game at all. You don't know what St Kilda's going to show up. They're playing up at Metricon Stadium, so, Brisbane's home state. But I just really hope that St Kilda can, make me sit down and watch this game with interest and not get blown out by a really good Brisbane side, because St Kilda have a really rough trot of it over the last 6 weeks. So this is where it starts against the Brisbane Lions. I got no bet in this one. Because I don't even know how the players are going to react and respond. Yeah, it's a really tough game. You're obviously getting Brisbane in their home state, but they're playing at Metricon. St Kilda having a pretty up and about last 2 weeks, but haven't been impressive in terms of their style of play. Like they've beaten the teams they need to beat, but both wins we've been putting it down to the other team really not playing that well. So Brisbane are in good form after a big win last week. I'm steering clear of this one as well, Pez. This could go any way. If I had to put a tip down, I would probably go with St Kilda at the line at plus 27.5. I do think that if they can continue the form that they've had, and Brisbane, they're happy to get home, but maybe they can keep it under 27.5, Pez. But we'll have to wait and see for that one. Oh, we'll definitely wait and see. And you've got the biggest rivalry in footy next.
Yeah, and it's playing at the second biggest stadium, mate. Don't worry about SBS Stadium. Get down to Mars Stadium. This will be a cold, miserable affair in Ballarat. You've got the Giants taking on the Gold Coast. $1.37 favourites are the Giants. Gold Coast Suns, after an impressive win last week, outsiders at 3.13. The line is minus 16.5, over under 150.5. And you think that'd probably be money for jam, the unders pairs, because it's going to be cold and miserable there.
Both sides never played here before?
No.
Interesting, isn't it? They're usually Bulldogs. Who do they play down there?
Probably someone rubbish. West Coast.
I think possibly Port Adelaide maybe. But Giants versus the Suns. Now, with the Suns win last week, you can get some decent odds if you think the Giants are going to win. So they're sitting at what, $1.40 you said?
$1.37 it's come down to.
$1.37 it came down. I've just gone on Neds. I've gone just a single here. GWS to lead at every quarter. So be leading at quarter time, leading at half time, leading at 3/4 time, win the game. Get your odds at $2.40, and I've put the max 50 on that. I'm hoping the weather can stay a little bit consistent so GWS can get a nice early lead against the Gold Coast Suns, who are young and tiring, and GWS, really need to win to try and stay in that 8. They might have a bit of momentum heading into this one.
Hope so, Pez. And as I said in the review, is when their good players play well, they win games. And that sounds so silly, but that's what they need to do. They need to come in this game and continue that form. They've got to sniff at the 8, and they need to really, really put their foot down on Gold Coast, who will be up and about after their win last week. But that means that they're travelling down the highway. They're playing a ground they haven't played before, similar to GWS here. I've gone pick your own line with bonus bet. I think the Giants can get it done by 5 or 6 goals. Minus 24.5. I know it is a little bit dubious there because obviously it is a low-scoring stadium with the wind and it's going to be pretty horrible weather, but I think that the Giants can get it done. The list, when you put them up side by side, they've got the superior list. They had a great win last week and probably more impressive win for who they knocked off. I think they use this as a momentum boost going into September.
Yeah, they need to back it up because sometimes they have a really good win and then they come out the next week and lose to someone they shouldn't lose to. So all banking on the Giants here. We head into Sunday with obviously no teams, no extended benches even being named yet, and not many player markets outsourced in the upcoming 3 games.
No, but this will be an absolute cracker. The Doggies taking on Sydney at Marvel Stadium. $1.30 favourites are the Dogs. Outsiders $3.56, which I think is some good coin for Sydney after an impressive win last week. Minus 20.5 is the line. Over under is 164.5.
Yeah, how many dead seagulls at Marvel this week?
You're all over this seagull business, mate.
Well, have you seen that many seagulls on your screen unless you're watching something that's at the beach and they've got some fish and chips on the ground?
That's how interesting this game is.
No, it is a very interesting game. This is going to be
an interesting game. Don't bring in dead seagulls.
Anything at Marvel Stadium with the roof open, they don't do it like the MCG, how they've got the wires. It is actually really distracting watching the footy like that. So the Seagulls might try and help the Swans out, their little brotherhood there. But Norton, as you said, with the concussion out, Mitch Wallace having to stand up, Libba just signed a new deal. Sydney, you got Franklin who kicked 4 last week and needs to continue. What does he need? He needs 24 more?
Yeah.
To get the 1,000 before the end of the year. So possibly. If he gets 4 this week, he's in the box seat.
He's in the box seat, especially playing the Gold Coast Suns in the last round.
Ooh, a Jeremy Cameron type Coleman medalist. I think that this is going to be really, really interesting. The Bulldogs have proven that they can stand up and when people think, they're playing a decent side. Sydney, do we overrate them from last week and what they did? Sometimes they're quite disappointing in what they do as well, but Franklin seems like he's fit up and about and he's a really important part of their side. I've got no bet at the moment. I might put one out on Twitter later when because Tab have the same game multi-special and so does Sportsbet now. So when the player markets come out, maybe Friday or Saturday, I might put something out. But watching with interest in this one.
Yeah, I'm much the same, Pez. I need to see those lists. It's a really important game for both clubs. Western Bulldogs obviously sitting the top of the ladder for the first time this year, and Sydney, a lot of people picked them as the team to drop out of the 8. They've got back to that impressive football earlier that they played in the year. They were gallant against Port Adelaide the week before. They're playing a good brand of footy, and as you said, Buddy Franklin's up and about. And when you've got a superstar of the game up and about, you can never count out a team like that. Sydney, I think that they can get close. I'm steering clear for this game, waiting for the lines there, so the players to come out. If I had to dabble anything, I don't mind the plus 20.5 there for Sydney just at the moment with no lists going off what they played last week. But let's get into the MCG Blockbuster, Richmond versus Collingwood. This is a crucial part of Richmond's season, basically. This is the dynasty laying on the line pairs. $1.57 favourites are the Tigers. 242 are the outsiders in the Magpies. The line has dripped out a little bit to 8.5, and the over-under is 147.5.
That's good for me because I think Richmond just have to win this. We talk about Robert Harvey and his coaching style and being very defensive and stuff. And against Richmond are going to go all out to try and wheel the ball forward this week. And a 7.5 line that I got earlier today at Ned's, put the max 50 on it. And I'm very happy and very confident with that because Richmond just have to do it. They didn't do it last week against the Gold Coast, and now there's been so much talk and so much pressure on them over the last 2 weeks, Source, and everything is on the line sitting outside the 8. So they've got all these premiership players. Tom Lynch has already played a week. He's back. He kicked 5 last week. They're ready to go against this Collingwood side.
Love that bet, Pez. I love that analysis, and that was exactly my thoughts on this. I jumped on a little bit later, 50 on the line, minus 8.5. I still think that is great value. I'll be upset if it comes in at the 7.5 there. But Pez, yeah, I agree with you. They have to get it done, and there's too much on the line. The football that you've seen off Collingwood the last couple of weeks has been very defensive. That plays in the hands of Richmond, I think, and especially when they've got the dynasty on the line, the backs against the wall.
You think Rioli will come back into the side to try and provide some forward pressure this week?
It depends how Dimmer wants to go about things. He hasn't been one to sort of drop the axe and bring people back in willy-nilly, but I think that's exactly what they need. I think they need some of that forward pressure there, and especially against a Collingwood side that really hasn't shown much over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, hopefully for our sake, Richmond just give them a bit of a spanking.
Hopefully. Speaking of a bit of a spanking, the West Coast Eagles are going to be looking for a really, really bounce-back win against the North Melbourne. This is Monday Night Football, Pez, and the reason that it's been moved to Monday Night Football is just because the Perth government have announced that on Sunday they'll ease restrictions, so the AFL cleverly and SPS Stadium and all the people over in West Coast and Perth would be celebrating getting the people back to the ground. So what it means is that Monday night you'll have a full capacity ground,
unless they're a bit upset with the 92-point loss last week.
Mate, they'll be there to either cheer on their team or
give them a bit of a spray,
or give them an absolute spray. So that means that the Eagles come in at $1.18 favourites, which is very, very unusual that they're that long, I guess, at $1.18, playing one of the bottom sides at their home stadium. You think they'd be
under
$1.10,
yeah.
But anyway, that's what it is. North Melbourne are $4.95 outsiders, minus 26.5. Pez, the over-under is 143.5.
This is a bounce-back game written all over it with West Coast here, so minus 26.5. Should be pretty good. I've got no bet at the moment, but I'm going to see what teams West Coast put out. Are they going to, they're not going to play the kids. They're still in the season. They're still in that 8. So no bet at the moment just because it's the Monday game, so we won't know the teams.
It's a long way away.
We won't know the teams. We know extended bench Thursday. When do we announce the team? Saturday night we might know that team. So maybe Sunday we'll put something out there. But I do have West Coast in my 3-leg multi.
So West Coast get the chocolates.
At $1.20, yep.
Yeah, Pez, again, the same philosophy. I don't think that the North Melbourne can do it, but I need to see the list there before I have a proper dabble at it. I will be looking to put a Monday after work sort of bet, I think, once the lines have been there released, and I probably will put something down just on a player disposal market. Need to see the teams though before I make the call.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So we end it with the 3-leg multi, and I've gone over with Tab, so I don't have to use my alternate account on Sportsbet, so it's easier for me. Geelong $1.32. I think they win this and win it pretty easily. GWS at $1.40. Put them in there for a bit of value, and I think they win that one pretty easily. And then West Coast at $1.20. Altogether $2.21. Put the max 50 on that, and happy days.
Yeah, I've got a 3-leg same game multi. No need for an alternate account because I'm a good punter and I don't get banned and I don't do the wrong thing, except for PointsBet. Screw those guys. 275 is my 3-leg same game multi. I've gone the Bombers, the Giants, and the Tigers all to have impressive wins. That gets me odds, as I said, it's 275, and I've whacked 25 on that one, Pez.
Yeah, well, we're in for a big one here. We can't sink, can't go down there. We need to really get going in round 17, and we've got 6 rounds left, Source, and then finals, of course, to continue.
Finals
Brownlow as well, which
Yes,
will be
it's all coming.
really good. Everything coming on, and we've got, about 3.5 hours until the footy starts tonight. So big game, Melbourne versus Port Adelaide. Get around that one as well. I'm Pez. Peace out.
Oh, Pez has bailed on our coin toss because he's down and out and he doesn't want to play. Pez, I'm going to backtrack you a little bit there because we have got one of the favourites of this of the segment of the show. It is a coin toss.
It was a toss of the coin.
You're bloody looking at me like we're good efficient, yeah?
Yes, it's been an unusual year for coin tosses.
Big time again!
I can understand, Pez, you running for the hills because I've taken the
Piss
lead
off.
in the betting and I've been at the top of the table for our coin toss. And last week was no different, was it, Pez? Tell the punters of the result.
You got 6 out of 7. I got 5 out of 7. So pretty good
Extends
results
that
there.
lead.
You're up by 3, and we'll continue to go. So get through the coin toss.
All right, nice, short, sharp, and quick. Pez, Port Adelaide Demons, Port Adelaide line -5.5.
Port Adelaide.
Yep, I'm with Port Adelaide. Bombers, Crows, -22.5.
Crows.
I'm going Essendon, and I can see Pez has got to some catching to do, so he's going a little bit risky. Hawthorn, Fremantle, -5.5 in favour of the Dockers.
Oh, that's a hard one. That is hard. Fremantle season online.
Fremantle, of course, mate. Loeb will kick his 10 goals and get that done. Carlton versus Geelong, -21.5. This
Cats.
line is really tough.
Cats.
Cats.
Easy for you going second all year, isn't it?
Oh, well, do you want me to go first then? All right, Brisbane, St Kilda, the line is -27.5. I'm going with the Saints.
Brisbane.
GWS, Gold Coast, -16.5. I'm going with the Giants.
16.5, you reckon? Yeah, Giants.
Western Bulldogs, Sydney, -20.5.
Oh, you don't want to go first?
Oh,
anymore?
sorry. I'm going to go Sydney. I'm just used to it. I'll go Sydney at +20.5.
Yeah, I'll go in Sydney.
Richmond, Collingwood, we're both going -8.5 for that one. West Coast, North Melbourne, -26.5. And I'm going with North Melbourne +26.5.
Yeah, and I'm going West Coast to give them a bit of a pounding.
Pez, have you got any? I'm guessing you don't have a coin toss for this week, Pez, or is it...
Well, you're looking at me like we're over time and we
are over time, but I thought it doesn't mean you didn't do the show due diligence, mate.
No. What do you got for me?
What have you got for you? Works inside the house or outside the house?
That is the shittest coin toss.
I'm just trying to make reference to the fact that you've got the workers going, Pez, building my nice little building down there.
Yeah, well, you got to get the renovations going and when you can.
Yeah, well, let's wrap things up, Pez. Where can all the viewers find us?
Oh, you can tell them.
I don't know. You're the media manager.
At Behind the Bound, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm Pez.
You cracked the sads, mate. You cracked the sads. You have one bad show and you're out. Oh, his headphones off. He stormed off. I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.